Hey everybody, it's Jay. This is Generation X Revisited, video number 2. For those of you that joined us for the first video, and I thank you very much, we're looking at solving problems. There's not going to be any hollering or political screaming or you're that and he's that. We just want to look at the issues and state the facts and see if we can come up with solutions. If yours is better than mine, text always come in when I'm on the video. If you got an idea better than mine, I want to hear it. If you got an improvement, I want to hear it. And we're going to talk about a couple of things. I want to touch on Greenland today, but I just want to give you a little bit of background. Everybody from Gen X is not, some are on the left, some are on the right, but we had shared experiences, and there are some things out there that may have shaped our opinions. For one, we had a religious leader in Iran, the Ayatollah Khomeini. And our embassy there, I think it was embassy, but basically about 60 Americans were taken hostage. And this wasn't like a 1 week thing or a 2 week thing. Every night at 11:30, ABC had a show that would come on and they say, "Welcome to ABC. This is day 285 or day 323 or day 402 of the Iranian hostage crisis." And Jimmy Carter at the time launched a rescue attempt. I think it was 2 helicopters. One of them was either shot down or crashed in the desert. It was unsuccessful, and that didn't go well. And he always says he would have been reelected if he'd just sent 3 helicopters. I don't think that was true. It was a good dude, and after he got out of the White House, he literally helped Habitat for Humanity physically with a hammer build well over 100 houses. So a really good man. He might have been too good of a man to be president, actually. All presidents have to make decisions on innocent people dying, because what do you do when you know a terrorist is going to be here in a building, and that maybe the janitor's working that building at night or something that maybe not have anything to do with it, So there's always a life and death decision. So you have to be able to do that. But anyway, they took these hostages, and that nightly show that would come on and give the time, that was eventually became Nightline on ABC. And I don't know if Nightline is still on or not. If it's not, I'm pretty sure it was around a few years ago. So, anyway, I think it was Ted Koppel. And so we had that going on. And we were all the children of boomers. And boomers are called boomers because when the war was over in 45, they came home and they had a lot of sex and a lot of kids. And that's why there's so many oh, wait a minute, was it? Yeah. So our parents went through that whole thing, and I get a little bit confused with it sometimes. So they kind of instilled some things in us. They're old enough to when they were children, they remember or heard stories from their parents about the Great Depression, all the banks, not having cash on hand, not being able to withdraw money, the worst economy until 2008 when that crisis happened or something like that. It's really, really bad. So they were very thrifty people. And another thing they put into us is they used to have the whole duck and cover. Duck and cover was something that they would teach you in school, that if there's a nuclear bomb and you're at school, you would supposed to duck under your desk and cover up. I'm fairly certain they wouldn't have done much, but I guess they just wanted the kids to think they were doing something. But yeah, that was so we lived basically under the fear that Russia was going to shoot a missile at us, or rather the Soviet Union, because it wasn't just Russia then. It was a whole gathering of countries that made up the USSR, the Soviet Union. And the communist regime, I think the president at the time was Brezhnev. I can't remember his first name. But so we lived in constant threat. And a funny side note on that, in the early 80s and through that time, not many people had credit cards. If you went in the store and you had a credit card, they had a little, and it was a physical machine. It was not electronic. And you hand them your card to get your stuff. They would set the card on top of this piece of paper, and then they would do like that, and it would print all their information, all your card number, everything, and the amount of the purchase. Then they would give you a copy of it. They take the other copy, and then they would send those in the mail to the Visa or MasterCard, and that's how they would get paid. So it wasn't any, give them your card and then look at your bank account. You didn't have any phones. There were no mobile pphones. I mean, they may have existed in some manner, but nobody that you would ever meet would have one. So there was all of that. But by and large, they didn't use credit cards much. There wasn't a lot of personal debt. People might buy a car or a house. After that, you didn't see a lot. You didn't see a lot. But Generation X is what changed that, and basically the whole country went out and filled up every credit card they have, and they haven't stopped since. And that was all because of a movie. And I didn't realize this at the time, but going back, I've watched documentaries on it and things. But basically, there was a movie called The Day After Tomorrow. So you're living in an age where you actually think it's possible that a nuclear bomb could come and kill all of us. And then a movie called The Day After Tomorrow came out, and it was a story about that very thing, about the bombing and people trying to survive in the aftermath of a nuclear attack. And I guess after watching that movie, it really set in how dangerous it was. And I think people got the idea, I got to live for today because tomorrow night I'll be here. So they went out and they bought those purses and those cars and those watches and everything, and literally exploded personal debt more than it ever had. So I would feel more proud if it were a better movie that did that. It's kind of not the greatest. I don't even remember the plot other than the fact that everybody got blown up. But just things like that. And there's lots of stuff in the news, and there's not really anything that we can think about to plan for here to say what's right or wrong. But I just wanted to touch on Greenland, and then I'll let you guys go today. What do we need to know? Greenland is a sovereign country, and I think we all know that sovereign countries shouldn't have to deal with countries trying to invade them or shoot them or bomb them or any of that. I saw the interview with several people from Greenland. There's only 50,000 people there, I think. And they were like, I can't sleep at night. I'm in fear. They are literally so scared that Americans can come in and kill them. And I would have never imagined in a million years that any peaceful nation would ever think that. But here we are. And the reasons that I've heard given for that is, one time it was said that they have minerals that we need. I don't know what minerals or what they're talking about. It's not lithium, because the CES show came out. There's a new solid state battery come out. It goes twice as far and charges in 10 minutes. So they literally have a motorcycle with them to come out in 3 months that gets like 300 miles on a charge and then charges in 10 minutes. And you get a right charging station, and cars will be able to do that. So imagine charging your car and maybe being able to go 600-700 miles, depending on how many batteries they use. Each one's about this big, takes 12 to 16 for an average car, I think. But imagine being able to drive 600 miles and then plug it in for 10 minutes at a supercharger and being able to go 600 more miles. And that's another issue we're going to talk about, because just to touch briefly, the oil, it's not about drilling for oil now to get the gas prices down. Gas works on supply and demand. The point is not how much electricity is, or the footprint, or the greenness of it. The point is that oil is finite. One day it's going to be gone, and years before that, they're going to realize that there's less and less, and the less you have, and the demand is still high, the prices go up. So if we run out of oil in 50 years, and some people think that's very possible, then what do we do if we don't have an alternative? So that's the main reason I said we got to do that. But anyway, back to Greenland. So when they talk about minerals, the other thing they said, we don't want Russia or China to go and take them over, because that would be a huge security risk, having Russia that close to us. Well, what are the three closest countries to the United States? Canada, we know that. Mexico. What's next? Cuba? It's not Cuba. It's not any American territory, because that would be ours. The third closest country to the United States, as I sit here, is Russia. It's 55 miles across the Bering Strait to Alaska. We got Alaska from Russia. So they're already there if that was going to happen. I really don't see. If Russia wants to look, Russia has invaded Afghanistan, Georgia, Ukraine. They've invaded and reinvaded places all over the world. Well, not all over the world, but all the time. But they've always been in that area. The reason they're doing that is because that Soviet Union, Putin wants that back together. He wants all of it under the same umbrella again. He wants all these nations being one Russia. So he's not really looking to annex or to overtake other countries that are not right there in his neighborhood. So I just really think it's a bad idea. But if any of you have any thoughts or any ideas, just put it below, and we'll see if we can do a show on it. And even though this is non-political, and the only reason I say that is I don't see any point in screaming and yelling at each other anymore. It is what it is. Let's come up with solutions to get over it. But there is one exception, and that exception is curiosity. When I decided that 6 months ago or 7 months ago that I was no longer going to be the keyboard warrior out there, putting everybody in their place, but I decided that because all of the chaos. I mean, it just got to the point where it's like, the mental health just isn't worth it anymore. So we just need people with ideas that will help us. Not just things that they can say so they can get elected. And all politicians do it. Some do it to a greater extent than others. Some flat out lie to you, and some basically tell you how it is, but they don't get around to doing it because they're too busy keeping their job or getting their job to do their job. So, that just turns into a problem. But the one exception is 7 months ago, I went to every conservative that I knew on social media, some of them individually, and then some of them with a general post, and I said, listen, in order to find common ground, because I had started changing that attitude then and everything, and we all have friends that are on the other side, and I went to them and I said, listen, if you have any questions about why Democrats think the way they do, why liberals think the way they do, if you ask me, I'll be glad to share that with you, because I thought it might be curious. And I'm like, if I can give them more information about why we think what we think, then maybe it'll help calm the tensions and everything. The problem is not one person out of like 20, not one person even cared to hear it. They don't want to hear it. How are you going to know if you don't ask? If they wanted to know a position on LGBT or any topic, I could tell them where it comes from. Because I will say this: the reasons that the right give or think that Democrats have the opinions that they do on some issues is not even close to the real reason. And I thought, well, if I can open a dialogue, then maybe we can straighten some of this out. Maybe they won't be quite as hostile to me. Maybe I won't be quite as hostile to them. So we're going to try to keep the hostility down. And I hope this doesn't end with video 3 with me jumping up and down and screaming at the top of my lungs because I lost my mess or whatever. But anyway, Greenland, bad idea. Stay out of it. Like, subscribe, comment below. Let's do it. I'm out.